I want to stress to you that this high-level checklist is not a definitive checklist. This checklist should change depending on the type of business that you're acquiring, the size of the business, maybe some of the history in the business. This is where having the proper advisors on your team really matters. Pulling together the right team so they can help you refine this checklist, pull together what should be your definitive checklist so you can present that to the owner of a business. So the first item on the checklist is the organization itself and whether or not it's in good standing. So in this phase, you want to be making sure that you're getting copies of the articles of incorporation, that you're getting org charts. You're making sure that the business is in good standing. It has a certificate of good standing with the Secretary of State in whatever state the company's operating in. A list of all of the shareholders and members, copies of all licenses and permits, anything related to the organization and the articles, so important. Financials. We already talked about tax returns, but you're going to need P&Ls, balance sheets, monthly bank statements, credit card statements, if appropriate for that business, projections, forecasts, capital budgets, schedule of all liabilities, accounts receivables and AR. You want to get as comprehensive a view of the financial picture of this business so that when you do bring in your advisors, they can see everything. They don't have to come back and keep asking for information. So get as much as you possibly can up front, make it available to your advisors so that they can get through all of this as quickly as possible. Assets. It's so important to get a definitive and comprehensive list of all of the assets that exist in the business, including assets that the owner intends to exclude from the business. And yes, sometimes this item is overlooked. It should be addressed in the letter of intent, but just in case it's not addressed in the letter of intent, you want to make sure you get to it in diligence. If the owner intends on excluding anything, you want to know it, and then you're going to probably want to ask some questions. And you're going to need a list of all the inventory in the business, and you're going to want the inventory broken down by what is current, what's obsolete, and what's slow-moving inventory. The next part of the checklist is around employees and employee benefits. At a minimum, a list of all the employees, their positions, their pay, any contracts, employee handbooks, descriptions of all the policies. You want to know if there have been any employee problems in the last 3 years, wrongful terminations, harassments, discrimination, workers' comp claims, unemployment insurance claims, all those sorts of things. And you also want copies of all non-competes and non-solicits that may exist. The next piece of diligence that's so important to dive into are growth prospects of the business. I've never met an owner a buyer that wants to buy the business and keep it for what it is today. Every buyer wants to take the business to the next level. So you want to understand what are the growth prospects for that business. What are the top 3 strategies that owner would deploy if they were going to continue to operate the business for the next 10 years? What do they think the investment might be to go ahead and execute against those strategies? And what do they think the returns might be for those strategies? Next part of the checklist is sales and marketing. So important to understand what the company has done from a marketing perspective, what's worked and what hasn't worked. What are their digital and social media assets and strategies? What's the cost of acquiring a new client? What's their client churn look like? Do they have client satisfaction surveys or some way to measure client satisfaction? What's their level of repeat business or recurring revenue? And are there ways to generate additional recurring revenues? Next on the checklist is competitors.